Is there such a thing as a good person? The question feels simple. We all know people we describe as good. We might even hope someone would describe us that way, but when you start pulling at the thread, things get uncomfortable fast. What does good actually mean? Is it about actions, or intentions, or something deeper? And if you've ever done something wrong, which you have, does that disqualify you permanently, or can goodness be rebuilt? Today I want to walk you through several ways of thinking about this. I'm not going to give you a final verdict, but I'm going to open doors that might change how you see yourself and everyone around you. Let's start with a problem that's been bothering philosophers for centuries. Can someone do the right thing for the wrong reason and still get credit for it? Imagine a person who donates a lot of money to charity, publicly, cameras present, name on the building, and they're praised for their generosity. Now imagine a different person who donates the same amount anonymously. No recognition, no gratitude, just the act itself. Most people would say the second person is more admirable, but why? The outcome is identical. The same number of people are fed, housed, and helped. If morality is about results, both donors should be equally good, and yet we feel a difference. We sense that motivation matters. But now push it further. Imagine a person who volunteers at a homeless shelter every week, but secretly does it because they're lonely and want to feel needed. Their motivation is self-interested, but their actions are kind. Does the loneliness cancel out the kindness, or does it just make them human? If we judge purely by outcomes, we lose the ability to distinguish between genuine care and calculated performance. But if we judge purely by intentions, we're in even deeper trouble, because we can never truly know another person's intentions. We barely understand our own. You might think you donated to charity out of pure generosity, but was there really no trace of wanting to feel good about yourself? No flicker of expectation that someone would notice? So the first thought opens onto a foggy landscape. We want goodness to be pure, but purity might not exist. And if everyone's motivations are tangled, can anyone be called good? Now let's turn the lens around. Not what makes a person good, but what makes them stop being good. Think about a person who has lived a life of quiet decency. Kind to their family, fair in their work, generous when they could be, decades of small, consistent goodness. Then one day, they do something terrible. A betrayal, a lie that destroys someone, a moment of cruelty. The question is uncomfortable but unavoidable. Does that one act undo all those years? Does it overwrite the story, or just stain it? This is sometimes called the problem of character. We tend to think of goodness as a kind of substance, a moral gold star that accumulates over time. But maybe goodness is more like trust. It takes years to build and seconds to break. A single crack in a foundation can bring the whole house down, even if the rest of the structure is solid. But if that's true, then goodness is terrifyingly fragile. No one is safe. Every human being who has ever lived has done something wrong. So if one bad act erases a lifetime of kindness, then the category of good person is empty. It's a room no one has ever occupied. Unless we're willing to see goodness differently, unless the cracks aren't failures but proof of something else. I'll return to this. But first, I want to look at the way philosophers have tried to build systems that don't depend on fragile human character at all. There's a major divide in moral philosophy between two ways of thinking about goodness. One says, look at the results. The other says, look at the character. The first view, often called utilitarianism, argues that the moral worth of an action is determined by its consequences. What matters is whether it reduces suffering or increases well-being. If a lie prevents a catastrophe, the lie was good. If a harsh truth destroys a life, the truth might have been wrong. In this framework, a good person is simply someone whose actions tend to produce good outcomes. Their inner thoughts, their motivations, their private struggles, those are secondary. There's a certain clarity here. It doesn't matter if you're wrestling with selfishness in your heart. What matters is that you fed someone who was hungry. The act itself carries the moral weight. The second view, often associated with virtue ethics, goes back to Aristotle. It says, goodness isn't about individual actions, it's about the kind of person you are. A good person is someone who has cultivated virtues, courage, honesty, compassion, wisdom, and who acts from those virtues consistently, not just when it's convenient. The goal isn't to calculate each decision for maximum benefit. The goal is to become the kind of person who naturally does the right thing, because doing the right thing has become part of who you are. The tension between these two views is profound. A utilitarian might say if your virtuous character leads you to make a decision that causes harm, your virtue is worthless. The virtue ethicist might reply, if you produce a good outcome through cold calculation without genuine care, the outcome is hollow. The same act, seen from these two perspectives, can look like goodness or emptiness depending on where you're standing. And here's the thing, you probably switch between these frameworks without noticing. When you judge a politician, you might be a utilitarian. Do their policies help people regardless of their private life? When you judge a friend, you might be a virtue ethicist. Do they genuinely care regardless of whether they sometimes get things wrong? So which framework is right? I'm not going to tell you, but I think that the fact we use both suggests something important. Maybe being good isn't just one thing. Maybe it's a word we use to describe several different things that don't always fit together neatly. I want to offer you a different way of looking at this. Maybe goodness isn't a state you can occupy. Maybe it's a direction. Think about it. When you call someone a good person, you're making a final judgment. You're putting a label on a story that isn't finished yet. But no one's story is finished. Every person alive is still in motion. They're still making choices. They're still capable of growth or regression, kindness or cruelty, courage or cowardice. The moment you declare someone definitively good, you've frozen them in time. And that freezing is a kind of fiction. What if, instead, we thought of goodness as a direction of travel? A person isn't good because they've arrived at some final state of moral perfection. They're good because they're moving towards something. Toward more compassion, more understanding, more willingness to do the right thing even when it's hard. And by that measure, a person who has done terrible things but is genuinely trying to change might be more good than someone who's coasted on a lifetime of easy decency without ever stretching themselves. This reframes everything. It means your past mistakes don't define you, as long as they're genuinely in the past. It means the person you're becoming matters more than the person you've been, and it means that calling someone good isn't a final verdict. It's a recognition of motion. But there's a shadow side to this too. If goodness is a direction, then it requires constant effort. You can't rest. You can't say, I've done enough good things, I'm safe now. The direction has to be maintained, and it can reverse. You can be moving towards goodness today and away from it tomorrow. That's uncomfortable, but maybe discomfort is the price of honesty. So, is there such a thing as a good person? I've opened doors. The problem of hidden motivations. Can an act be good if the reason behind it is tangled and self-interested? The fragility of character. Does one bad act really undo a lifetime of quiet decency? The philosophical divide between judging actions by their results and judging people by their virtues, and the possibility that goodness isn't a permanent state at all, but a direction you're either moving in or you're not. I haven't given you a label to pin on yourself or anyone else. I'm not sure a label would help, but I'll leave you with something I keep turning over in my mind. Maybe the question, am I a good person, is too heavy to carry. Maybe it's too final, too sweeping, too likely to produce either pride or despair. Maybe the better question is smaller and more honest. Am I trying, right now, in this moment, am I trying to be a little more patient, a little more honest, a little more willing to care about people who can do nothing for me in return? That question doesn't demand perfection. It just asks for movement. And movement, over time, can carry you a long way from where you started. Thank you all for watching to the very end. If you enjoyed this video, which I'm assuming you did because you watched the whole thing, please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And please let me know if you think there is a definitive answer to what a good person is. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.